Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Last night was UFC 265, and there were so many important fights in individual divisions last night. I wanted to make a video today saying who I thought a lot of the notable winners from UFC 265 should be matched up with next. So, first off, if you guys haven't already checked it out, I did a UFC 265 post fight results and reaction. It's on my channel. I'll also put the link in the description, so make sure you guys go check that out. Second, do me a favor, if you guys enjoy these types of videos, make sure to like the video. I really appreciate it. It helps support the channel. So first off, I'll start with the most obvious matchup. You had Ciryl Gane defeat Derek Lewis in the main event, third round TKO. My prediction, if you guys watch my prediction video for the main event, super accurate. I was only off by one round. I said fourth round TKO for Gane. Unfortunately, he got the third round TKO, but it's all good. And we all know who Ciryl Gane's fighting next. This fight against Derek Lewis was for the #1 contender belt. That's what I like to call it now, because honestly, there was no need for an interim belt. Francis Ngannou just won the title off of Stipe Miocic not that long ago. So now Ciryl Gane is the bona fide #1 contender in the heavyweight division. So we know what that means. He's going to be fighting Francis Ngannou next, and I am so excited for this fight. I've been, if you follow my channel, I've been talking about it. The reason I didn't like this Derek Lewis Ciryl Gane fight is because I felt like one of them had to get knocked off, and I wanted to see Derek Lewis fight Francis Ngannou again, and I wanted to see Ciryl Gane fight Francis Ngannou. But as far as if one had to get knocked off, I prefer, Derek Lewis get knocked off, because I just love the stylistic matchup of Ciryl Gane versus Francis Ngannou. And one thing I want to address, and I'm on the Ciryl Gane hype train. I've been on the Ciryl Gane hype train. But people acting like the win last night over Derek Lewis by Gane means he's going to walk through Francis Ngannou. I don't know what you're thinking. I truly don't. Because I feel like people are saying Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou are basically the same fighter. They have a puncher's chance. Now, Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou both have the touch of death. But that's where the similarities, end. Francis Ngannou is a completely different fighter. He's getting better every single time out. He even incorporated leg kicks into his last fight against Stipe Miocic. He has good grappling defense that he's worked on since the first loss to Stipe. And I just think, I'm not saying Ciryl Gane can't beat Francis Ngannou. I'm not saying that at all. I may very well pick him by the time the fight comes around. But just look, I feel like there's some recency bias going on. They see what happened in the Derek Lewis fight, and they're like, oh, Ciryl Gane's going to walk through Francis Ngannou. And I don't find that logic to make sense. If you thought Ciryl Gane might walk through Francis Ngannou before the Derek Lewis fight, okay, that's fine. But I don't think, if you didn't think it before the Derek Lewis fight, you shouldn't think it afterwards, because Derek Lewis is a guy, and I said this in my prediction video, he looks for that right hand, and that's about it. He's very limited in his skill set. But I cannot wait for this Francis Ngannou fight, because you have Francis Ngannou, who again has that touch of death. He's getting better every single time out. He's shown powerful leg kicks. He's shown, he's working on, his technical boxing. He just looks like he's getting better every single time out. And you have Ciryl Gane, who now has 7 fights in the UFC. I think he only has like 10 MMA fights or 11 MMA fights in his whole entire career, which is insane to me. And he's the #1 contender. He's the interim champion, and he's going to step in there against Francis Ngannou, who's looked unbeatable recently. He's barely spent any time in the cage because he's just knocking people's heads off. And you have that weird clash of Ciryl Gane, who's so technical and so well-rounded, versus Francis Ngannou, who gets wild, who's super athletic, who's super fast, who has the death touch. And I can't wait to see that fight. I think everybody's super excited for it. Hopefully, maybe it happens in December this year. I'm not sure when it might happen, but bare minimum, it'll happen early next year would be my guess. But that's the first matchup I wanted to talk about. I know that's the obvious matchup. Some of these other matchups I'm going to give you aren't as obvious, and I'm even going to give you one bonus matchup from the prelims at the end of this video. But I'm so excited for that fight. That's a great heavyweight fight. That's going to be a massive fight, and maybe the winner will fight Jon Jones. Who knows? And that'll be a huge fight as well. And can you imagine, like in a hypothetical situation, Francis Ngannou takes the belt off Stipe Miocic. Then he goes out there and starches Ciryl Gane, and then he beats Jon Jones. I think that might be enough to put him in the argument for GOAT heavyweight at that point in time, if he was able to pull off that 3-fight win streak. But let me know. I'm curious. I know it's very early, but let me know who you guys would pick right now today in a Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane fight. I'm genuinely curious who you would pick, so please comment that down below. So next off, let's move to the co-main event. You had Jose Aldo defeating Pedro Munoz. Spectacular performance by Aldo. I just think he looked so dialed in. He was just, I mean, everything that Pedro Munoz threw, he saw coming. And, I went more in depth on my post fight, so just make sure you guys go check that out if you haven't already. But Aldo, I still believe, has the potential to be the 135-pound champion. And that's really saying something because the bantamweight division is the most stacked division in all the UFC. Now, there's some tough matchups. There's no easy matchups out there for Jose Aldo. I thought over a couple of them. I thought maybe Rob Font would be a decent matchup, but that's not who I'm going to go with in this video. There also is the potential fight with Corey Sandhagen. But the fight I'm going to go with is a fight that's been talked about a little bit, even in this guy's return. And even last night, it's been talked about a little bit by Jose Aldo. He said he wants this fight. And some of you guys probably know who I'm already talking about. I want to see Jose Aldo versus TJ Dillashaw. And this fight would be amazing, and I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, Jose Aldo has won 2 fights since losing to Petr Yan. And TJ Dillashaw just came back from a 2-year PED suspension. He won over Corey Sandhagen. It was a controversial decision. I personally thought he lost. And I believe, considering he's coming back from a PED suspension, that he should have to fight more than one top contender to get back to the belt. And I know we still have to see the division play out between Jan and Sterling. But and I think the timing can work out where Aldo might be able to fight TJ Dillashaw towards the end of this year, November, December. And then the winner of that fight would potentially be in line to fight for the title next, no matter who is the champion. Now, one thing I will say, and I kind of talked about it, alluded to it in the post-fight. If I'm Jose Aldo and I'm fighting TJ Dillashaw, first off, the UFC is probably going to try to make that a main event of like an ESPN card or ESPN Plus card. But if I'm Jose Aldo, I'm campaigning for that fight to be on a pay-per-view card and a 3-round fight. Because, again, 3-round Jose Aldo is like a mythical creature at this point. 5-round Jose Aldo, just between trying to manage his stamina and all those different factors that comes along with Jose Aldo, he just tends to fade. 3-round fights are his friend. I would never take a fight for a non-title fight. If I was Jose Aldo or his management team, I'm not taking any fight that's not for a title for anything more than 3 rounds. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think he should really campaign to try to get that TJ Dillashaw fight for 5 rounds. And now I think, like, if I'm giving you my early prediction a little bit, if it's a 5-round fight, I'm probably going with TJ Dillashaw. And that hurts to say. I really love Jose Aldo. I think he's a legend of the sport. He's still only 34 years old, which is crazy for how much he's done in MMA and the UFC in general. But if it's a 3-round fight, I'm taking Jose Aldo. And that's tough. It's tough. We'll see what happens. But I think this is the fight to make. You have TJ Dillashaw, with that weird, movement style. He throws combinations, hands kind of low, and he just kind of floats around the octagon. He didn't do too much of it in the Corey Sandhagen fight, but we've seen it more in like the Dominic Cruz fights, the Renan Barão fights. And I would love to see that style versus Jose Aldo. Just Jose's so technical. And I would really like to see in a Dillashaw fight, Jose Aldo chopping those legs early and often. He didn't use that many leg kicks in the Munoz fight last night. And I really hope if he does fight TJ Dillashaw, I hope that he chops those legs early and often, because I think that will be a massive key to victory for him in that fight. So let me know what you guys think about that matchup. Who would you guys favor in a potential Jose Aldo versus TJ Dillashaw matchup? Let me know in the comments. Okay, moving down the card, we had welterweight Vicente Luque defeat Michael Kiesa by first round Darshchoke. What a performance by Luque. He gets taken down. He faces some adversity, and he ends up with the submission. Great performance by Luque all around. I mean, the fight didn't last very long. There wasn't very many strikes thrown on the feet. But to pull off and submit a guy like Michael Kiesa, who hasn't been submitted in a long while, who had his back at one point looking for rear naked chokes himself. What an amazing performance. And I seen some people suggesting this fight, and I had to put this in the video because a lot of people, I don't think they realize that it's not happening. A lot of people are suggesting we see Vicente Luque versus Gilbert Burns. Vicente Luque and Gilbert Burns, while that would be an amazing welterweight fight, Both those guys are teammates, and not only teammates, I think they're best friends. Gilbert Burns was in his corner last night. I don't think they would ever fight each other. So that fight's not happening. That fight's off the table. So I think the next best bet, and I think this makes a lot of sense as well, give me Vicente Luque versus Leon Edwards. Now, Leon Edwards is on like an 11-fight win streak. A lot of people were saying he deserved the title shot over Colby Covington. And I've said this a million times. Nobody in the welterweight division had an open and shut case to get the next title shot against Kamaru Usman. So I wasn't going to cry for Leon Edwards. You know, if Colby got it, fine. If Leon Edwards got it, I wasn't going to be crying for Colby. Nobody had an open and shut case. While Leon Edwards is on an 11-fight win streak, he hasn't really beat anybody. He hasn't beat anybody in the top 5, maybe not even in the top 10, honestly. And I think that Leon Edwards needs that signature win to really, catapult himself to a title shot. And I think he needs one more win, then he can fight Kamaru Usman if he's still the champion for the belt. Now, Vicente Luque, I was actually thinking about it. He's currently on a 4-fight win streak. His last 2 wins, Michael Kiesa and Tyron Woodley. I actually think now Vicente Luque has more of a claim to a title shot than anybody else in the division, including Colby Covington, who's currently getting one. Colby Covington went on a 1-fight win streak after being stopped by Kamaru Usman and beat Tyron Woodley. Vicente Luque stopped Woodley and stopped Kiesa back-to-back. I forgot who he fought the 2 fights before that, but he's on a 4-fight win streak. You could arguably say Luque should be slotted in there instead of Colby at this point in time, but I know why Colby's getting the shot, and I'm excited for that fight. That's going to be an awesome rematch. The first fight was so good. But I think Vicente Luque versus Leon Edwards would be an amazing fight, and it would be a 100% number 1 contender fight. Whoever won that fight is definitely next in line for the welterweight title. If you have Leon Edwards, he would be on a 12-fight win streak if he beat Lucay, and he gets a solid win in his 12th fight over a legit top 5 welterweight. So undoubtedly earned the title shot. And Vicente Luque, that would be now a 5-fight win streak, 3 fights in a row against top 5 talent. So yeah, you couldn't deny either guy after a win over each other. And I think that fight would be amazing. I mean, Vicente Luque's super technical on the feet. He has some decent power. You have Leon Edwards, who, a lot of people call him a point fighter, but he's just so technical. And I know people forgot about that last performance against Nate Diaz because Nate Diaz rocked him in that 5th round, but he battered Nate Diaz. And Nate Diaz, while I don't really think he's a legit welterweight, he's just kind of a lightweight fighting at welterweight. He's a tough test for a lot of people. Conor McGregor, I arguably think Conor McGregor lost to him twice, and people say Conor McGregor is one of the GOATs of the lightweight division. So Leon Edwards versus Vicente Luque would be a lot of fun. I'm not even sure who I would pick in that fight. I think that's a 50-50 fight, honestly. So sign me up for that one. So the last fight I wanted to give you, the kind of bonus matchup I wanted to give you, Rafael Fiziev beat Bobby Green last night in an amazing fight of the night. He won by decision. I thought should have been 2 rounds to 1 for Fiziev. And I was wondering, who should we match him up with next? He's got a lot of hype going into this fight. A lot of people believed in Fiziev, myself included. I think that fight took a little bit of steam off of it because a lot of people expected him to run over Bobby Green. I understand why he didn't. But, it did take a little bit of steam off it. But with the hype, and we can see some of his skills are really there, I really want to see him test it. And I was trying to think, who would I match him up with next? And I want to see him fight a ranked fighter in the lightweight division. And maybe this is too much of a jump for him, but I would love to see this fight. This is my personal preferences. This is if I'm matchmaker. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this matchup in the comments. But I want to see Rafael Fiziev versus Gregor Gillespie. And Fiziev's cardio looked a little suspicious in that Bobby Green fight. He started getting pieced up in that 3rd round. I think he thought he clearly lost the 3rd round to Bobby Green. I know one judge gave it to Bobby Green. I don't know what the hell they were watching or if they were smoking something. But Gregor Gillespie would be a perfect test for Fiziev and his cardio because Gregor Gillespie has an amazing gas tank. He's currently ranked number 10, and I know that's probably, if you look in the scheme of things, an unranked fighter now stepping into the top 15 for the first time, fighting number 10. But after this win over Bobby Green, my guess is he's probably going to get ranked number 14 or 15. So it's not that far of a stretch. And also, Gregor Gillespie really hasn't beat anyone either. I know he has the win against Carlos Diego Ferreira, but he needs a fight, and I would love to see him against Fiziev. I'd love to see Fiziev's wrestling really tested against a strong, heavy grappler with an unlimited gas tank. And I think Gregor Gillespie's the guy to do that. I think Gregor Gillespie, you know, people can say, oh, you know, okay, maybe he should be fighting up in the rankings a little bit more. But a lot of that top 8 is already tied up. And again, I've talked about it before. People are denying fights because, oh, he's ranked behind me. Fiziev has a massive hype train behind him. Whether it's warranted or not, he does. And there's something to be said for derailing that hype train. A fighter can gain a lot from that. So I think Gregor Gillespie should take that fight. And that's the matchup I want to see. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about all my matchups. Who would you match all these winners up with? Let me know that also in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like the video. It really helps support the channel. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.